coming through. Gotcha. Gotta be careful. Bundle up.
So, you sure this is safe? Her pockets of the bog are damn near bottomless. Plus, there's that giant man-eating serpent.
Bill assured us the chocobos could handle it.
Have some faith in our feathered friends.
According to local legends, Titan possesses earth-shattering strength. He is capable of crushing whole mountains with his fists. Perhaps we have him to thank for the rolling hills and verdant plains that comprise this region of the planet. That concludes our analysis of the grassland summon crystals. Thank you. Now Titan will become an even more formidable ally. Congratulations. Though you have yet to obtain the requisite materia, as I recall, you'll first need to confront the Divine via the combat simulator.
Over there. It's Sephiroth.
What?
Come on.
Not bad, but not my best.
I don't see Sephiroth. Do you?
No, I don't.
You're dead.
Get your ass out of here!
Come on, wind up.
Cloud! Upon analyzing the data from the life spring, I was able to locate a new transmuter chip. It's among the refuse left over from the pipeline's construction. Though a touch far from your current location, it's a rather short chocobo ride.
Don't overdo
Need
it.
my help, do you? Want some more? I got something just for you. One side at a time. Oh, you in trouble now. I got something just for you. Ain't no thing. no fiends.
Rare Moo variant identified. Commencing guidance protocol. The ever-vigilant Moo possesses an incredible memory, meaning that once you've trespassed on its territory, it can and will track you down in order to exact revenge. The Moo have a massive underground network through which they exchange information on food sources and predators. Frankly, it rivals Charlie's own network. So don't you be deceived by their adorably twitchy tails and unassuming demeanor. Further analysis of these crafty creatures will no doubt shed light to their communication methods, and maybe help us to improve ours as well.
Best do it right. It's on now. Let's do this. Here it comes.
Spectacular! Though it was quite the victory, you were unable to complete all the objectives. Might you try again? Bravo! That was an the data you collected will be stopped. We've already used it to produce a new combat trial.
What? I see that Mai has opened.
Rare movement identified. Commencing guidance protocol. That once you've trespassed on its territory, it can and will track you down in order to exact revenge.
You're mine.
The Moo have a massive underground network through which they exchange information on food sources and predators. Frankly, it rivals Charlie's own network. So don't you be deceived by their adorably twitchy tails and unassuming demeanor. Further analysis of these crafty creatures will no doubt shed light on their communication methods, and maybe help us to improve ours as well.
My shit hurts.
Come on! Keep it up!
Bring in the heat! Get your ass out of here!
Come on.
Want some more?
Congratulations! You managed
I'm pleased to see you've completed our survey. I cannot thank you enough for the data you... Indeed, it has been a valuable learning experience. One I could have never... I hope we can continue to study this world of ours together.
Allow me.
Bringing the heat! Hoo-ah! One shot at a time! Hoo-ah! Ah! Ah!
I got this. Ha, you're up.
My turn.
Gotcha. Come on. Yeah. You're gonna feel this one.
Oh, we're done here!
Congratulations on toppling Titan. Though legendary, his earth-shattering strength was no match for your own. I'm sure he'll provide you with steadfast support. You're in good hands now, and rather large ones at that.
This ends here. It's on now. Come on. Going in. Sloppy. Try this. You're mine.
Get your ass out of here!
Nothing to it. This ends here. You're dead.
not throwing in the towel. Think fast. Bingo! Hang in there. Gotcha. Ha! There! Ha! Keep it up. You asked for it. It's over. Ha!
Let's go. Going in. Gotcha.
Yeah, there! Come on!
Let's finish this. Enough.
Bring it!
Going in. That it? Here we go. It's on now. Here it comes. Let's finish this. That's that. This ends here.
I think I'm all warmed up.
But that's it. You're mine. Enough. Try it. You're done.
Too easy.
It's over.
Bring it!
Okay, I'm done. Want some more? Bang, bang. I got something just for that. Enough already. Come on. All right. Watch and learn. Here it comes. Time for a serious ass
You made short work of that simulation. If there's anything else I can do for you...
How's it going, guys, and welcome back. So once you reach Chapter 2 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, here is where the game really starts to open up, and there are so many different things to do. So I put together this short list. Leave calm, you want to simply head south. When you get to the abandoned docks, just inside Bill's Ranch, that's the story until you unlock a weapon for Cloud, and then just continue going through the swamp to the south until you get to this location right here. And on this small little island in the swamp, you'll see another purple chest, which is going to contain Barrett's weapon. The next thing you want to make sure you're doing ASAP is going to be creating auto or different materia. However, by far the best one is going to be the auto cast materia. The reason auto cast is so important in this game is because if any of your characters that you're your healer, so for example if you use an Aerith slot, timeless rod weapon we just picked up for Aerith in this video is actually really useful as it does have a dual slot available. So make sure you're developing at least one, if not even 2 or 3 auto cast materia. If you need more intel points, simply do any of the random intel around the map. Now that we mentioned Chadley, you also want to make sure that you unlock the Titan summon materia as soon as possible. You do this by completing his first combat simulation. Now Titan can be a pretty tough opponent if you're low level, however by completing the 3 divine intel in the grasslands, which are located just here, the second one is down here, and the third one over here. Each time we do these, we actually weaken a Titan, and if you do the divine intels first and then come to the battle simulation, you get the option to fight a weakened Titan and still get the summon as a reward if you defeat him. So if you are having trouble with this, make sure you do the divine intels first and then come back. There is also a hidden classified intel that allows you to have a mini boss fight, let's call it, against the Quetzalcoatl. I'm not sure exactly how this is pronounced. I've been struggling with this word ever since Final Fantasy VIII and I've dreaded it. So let's just call it the Lightning Dragon for now. The way to unlock this classified intel right here is first we need to do the expedition intels. These believe you only need to do 4 of the expedition intel. Good for even farming XP early on in the game. It is weak to ice attacks, so if you're having a tough time, simply use Shiva and all of the ice attacks, get them into pressure really quick, then stagger, and then just rinse and repeat. Also, quick side note, not necessarily just for this chapter, but for pretty much every chapter, make sure that you're assessing all of the enemies that you encounter in like the side quest and stuff like that, as some of the combat simulations require you to assess a certain amount of different enemies, and some of these enemies are only available in the side quest for now, unless you advance later on in the game, so make sure you are assessing pretty much any new enemy you come across at all times. There are 3 really good legendary cards you can get in this chapter for the Queen's Blood minigame. For 3 of these, the first thing you need to do is complete the side quest called a Rare Card Loss quest. You'll get the Chocobo and Moogle card, which is a legendary. And also by completing this side quest, you'll unlock the Thorin's card shop, which we went to actually defeat the final opponent for the side quest. And this card shop actually sells us the Fat Chocobo and the Titan cards. All 3 of these cards are legendaries and they're definitely worth picking up before you advance. Make sure you also unlock in all of the Chocobo stops. It's really quickly. All you need to do is literally lift up the signpost next to them. There's only 8 of them in the entire grasslands, so it doesn't take too much time. Plus you have extra fast travel points to go to if you ever need them. The main reason for this is every time we unlock a Chocobo stop, we'll be given golden plumes. Now these are useful for buying the accessory and armor pieces for the Chocobo, which aren't going to be much use right now, but later on you're going to need a bunch of these to make your Chocobo better off for the races. You also might want to take a look at the Moogle shop, the Moogle Emporium I believe it's called. This shop unlocks after you complete the Moogle Intel, where you've got to like round them all up into the pen at the center. And in this shop, they actually sell a few good items, mainly the 2 items for Cloud and Tifa that gives you 10 free SP for each of them. However, they do require Moogle medals to buy. Moogle medals can be obtained quite easily by just breaking any of the boxes you see here with these red markings on them. These boxes constantly respawn over and over again in the cache locations, which are these sort of locations that show up as little treasure chests on the map. They'll spawn all around these, and also they usually spawn on top of the activation intel towers. So if you climb to the top of any of the towers, most likely there's going to be boxes up there, so you can fast travel between the cache locations and the activation towers, and you should get a bunch of Moogle medals in no time. Also, last but not least, before you do leave the grasslands in chapter 2, make sure that you are doing the phenomenon intels. You have to do these in order, so first of all you have to do one here at the top right, then down here the second one, the third one over here to the left, and then finally you get access to the fourth one where you have to go through this gate right here. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers here as much as possible, so I'm not going to explain why you should do these, but make sure you do complete all of the phenomenon intels in all of the areas that you visit. But anyway, with that said, I hope you did find this very helpful, guys. I hope you are enjoying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we'll see you next time.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Primal Liquid, and welcome to my top 7 tips and tricks that all players need to know going into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, these are things that I wish I knew very, very early on, because it would have saved me so much time and a lot of trouble. So, let's talk about them, shall we? First and foremost is going to be a little tip regarding fast travel. Now, when you actually open up the map, okay, you see all of these little icons on the map, right? You could fast travel to every single one of these. Now, when I first started playing, I would go a little out of my way to grab them, you know, when they popped up, because obviously when you interact with a tower, it does highlight a bunch of them on the map and so on and so forth. However, I would mainly carry on with the story for that particular area before I went through clearing all of the actual markers off. However, that's a really, really bad way of doing it because, as I say, every single one you can fast travel to. So obviously these little hexagons right here, these are just area location markers, which you can fast travel to pretty much instantly as soon as you unlock them. However, things like the excavations, the towers, the random fights, so the fiend intels, the life springs, the chocobo stops, and so on and so forth, you can fast travel to every single one of these. Okay, this means that when you actually do fast travel, or should I say when you unlock fast travel early on, you will then start being able to really get around, which does save a lot of time, especially when you actually start doing these side quests. And of course, once you're later in the game, previous areas will populate more side quests as well. This is going to allow you to get around so much easier, especially when you are also trying to locate some materials if you decide not to buy them. So yeah, make sure you actually get these as soon as you can, even if it means it going out of your way. Obviously, if you have a story marker up here and you have something to unlock all the way down here, maybe not go that far out of your way, but if you have a story icon here, then I would say at least tackle this general vicinity for them.
Would you mind rounding up all the Mooglets for me? Over here. You're a lifesaver, Kupo. Welcome, Kupo. Did you find anything you like, Kupo?
definitely worthwhile. Now, obviously in the grasslands, it's not super amazing because it's not a super big. However, in each area, well, I can't say each area, in most areas, there will be a choke areas. You are not given a location for the chocobo and you have to find it yourself. Now, this is incredibly important for getting around quickly and also helping to farm materials. Now, and when I say unique bosses, it's not really a boss, it's more so a unique mob. Each region has its own version of this mob. Now, one of them is a Great Marlborough, one of them is a Tomberry King, and so on and so forth. In order to unlock these, okay, which are called classified intel, in order to unlock these, you must collect the life spring data. So as you can see right here, no, that's not the one, that's just the expedition. Oh wait, no, that is the one. All right, so as you can see right here, we have a life spring right there. Each region will have a different amount of them. Some have 4, some have 6, and so on and so forth. As you start collecting them, you will start getting extra intel from Chadley. So if we take
or do you want to spend time getting all the stuff before you push through? Is it worthwhile? Things like that. And I hope to the abandoned dock and make the crossing once you've let's just find all the locations for them so you can kind of see. You've got one here as well. You've got one all the way over here, and as you can see, you've
attacks and kind of hit everybody, which in turn is going to make you completely immune to that attack. So this makes that time window a lot more forgiving. Is the counter attack that Cloud has when he automatically switches the operator mode. So when you switch that stance for like a split second over there, if any enemy lands a melee attack against you, Cloud will immediately counter that and hit them very hard with a pressuring attack. So this is what you constantly see me doing, especially against targets that move very fast, and especially so against targets that I know are about to jump on me. You kind of have to be proactive with this ability and kind of know your enemy's attacks. Try to press it at the right moment as the enemy is about to attack you. Usually there's like a 1 second delay between the animation and the attack landing on you. Now, other characters have it a lot easier. So for example, Red 13 has by far the fastest block activation, so it's going to be very easy in the middle of fights to just like not attack for a split second, quickly press R1 as an enemy is about to hit you, and then you can also follow up with a quick square, which is going to always do a counter attack if you do it like a split second right after that block. Plus, again, it's going to give you that immunity just like in the case of the others. Besides this, he also uses Sentinel Stance, which pretty much gives him the entire benefit of having a perfect block, but for a very long duration. So you can just hold this down, wait like 5 full seconds for an enemy to hit you, and during that entire duration, you're going to be completely immune to the same types of attacks that blocking or at least precision defensing would be anyway. And this lets you immediately follow up with a strong attack if you again press square right after getting hit during Sentinel Stance. That's why if you're having trouble with any of the characters, give Red 13 a go. He's actually really great at blocking, counterattacking, and also staggering enemies. That's what he's basically built for. Now, continuing some of the party helping sort of combos, one that I recommend always having is the pocket healing provided by the autocast plus healing materia combo. You will need to place this on anything that has 2 materia slots linked. It can be either armor or it can be a weapon, but this is actually very useful in combat, as normally you can place this on Aerith or on Barret. They are some of the best that can make use of this to basically heal you whenever you drop to 2 low HP values. They basically start healing you whenever you drop below like 70 or 60%, and they will choose the appropriate level of that healing to give you whenever you drop too low. So it's going to be a slightly lesser MP consumption version if you don't drop too much, and then they will use the much higher level one if you drop for too low. But at number 4, the next tip is going to be about the square hold attacks. These are some of my favorite because they can provide some of the best benefits. So almost every character has some. I'm going to talk about specifically a couple of them. Cloud, for example, if you press and hold down square, will do this spin that also pulls in enemies. Most of the square attacks kind of have this effect on targets where they get condensed into one smaller area, which is going to make it much easier for you to unleash strong attacks and kind of hit everybody at the same time. Red 13 has a similar one as well, where he spins around and kind of also leaves these trails that do some claw mark attacks against enemies for like a split second. That's also good at building up the ATB gauge, but between these two, these are some very solid options. Now, veterans of the remake game will also remember of Barrett's overcharge skip animation, which you can basically pull off at the end of the square attacks. Whenever you're seeing that about to end, quickly press triangle, which is going to cause a quick animation to fill up your overcharge meter almost instantaneously. So this is going to be much quicker than doing it manually while running away or trying to do something else. And it's going to give you the overcharge ability, which is a great way to apply pressure on most of the targets. That's going to be one of your designated ways of doing it. And speaking of applying pressure, the 5th tip is to constantly aim for these two things whenever you fight enemies if you want to take them down quicker. One is to pressure and then immediately apply something for high stagger. That's because if you use a high stagger ability against a target that's already pressured, you're going to fill its stagger meter much faster than normally. So here are a few ways to immediately pressure targets. The most straightforward is simply to use a spell that it's weak against. So for example, using fire against enemies that are weak to fire. And the higher the star rating of the fire spell you use against these enemies, the higher that chance to pressure them is going to be. Another one which is also great is to dodge or perfectly block specific attacks to take enemies off balance. For example, birds, wolves, and many of the story bosses in fact are notorious at getting pressured when you dodge or perfectly block some of their biggest attacks. Of course, you can see all of this information in the yellow text whenever you assess these targets or go into the battle intel, assuming that you previously assessed all of the enemies you fought. That's why I recommended in my beginner's guide to constantly assess every single enemy so that you know exactly how to counter them. And from this point on, once that character is pressured, you're going to immediately want to follow up with a high stagger ability. There are many in the game and usually their text description will point that fact to you. For example, Cloud's focused thrust, Barrett's focused shot. Even Tifa has a version of that which can actually give you a very good boost to that stagger meter for pretty much any enemy in the game. And once you do get them into that staggered phase, they're gonna get like a full-on 160% damage multiplier on them. This is going to boost your damage a ton, but you can further extend that to like even 300%, especially with somebody like Tifa, pretty much using her unbridled strength and then boosting a few times with it. Is going to give you some extra abilities just like before to essentially increase that stagger while you attack the enemies. But of course, we're going to follow up with a bigger guide on that really soon. Now at number 6, another big combat tip I can't stress enough is to constantly fight in the air, especially with Cloud. It's super easy and it's going to let you pretty much dodge like at least 60% of all of the incoming attacks, if not even more than that, while simultaneously unleashing your own very devastating attacks. Like I said in the previous videos, you can simply dodge and then hold down square to auto track to any target no matter how far high up it is. And from this point on, pretty much most of your attacks can be castable while in the mid-air, plus they have different animations while in the mid-air, so you can connect a little bit better with your targets and maybe gain some ATB charges or even increase the stagger meter on your enemies. For other characters, it's going to be a bit more complicated depending on their style, but Yuffie and Kate Sith are the next ones that are kind of having a very easy time, just like Cloud, to go into the mid-air. However, for somebody like Tifa, they will need this synergy skill right here and have her party mates throw her right up. But once you get a hold of that and use it properly using R1 and any of the face buttons to launch yourself up, it's going to become second nature, and she is just as good in the mid-air too. Red 13 unfortunately won't have much in terms of air combat, if anything at all. There are a few throw attacks that kind of launch him into enemies. But for Aerith and for Barret, obviously you have the ranged attacks, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. Now at number 7, like I said before, switch between characters often for a few reasons. One, you don't really want to stay on a character if it's about to get hit or interrupted or even stunned. Just switch to somebody else and immediately squeeze in as many attacks as possible. Build up that ATB gauge and try to get a few spells going. Maybe a healing on the character that just got hit, or maybe an attack that puts pressure on your target, or just anything that keeps you busy and not static. You don't really want to be static in this game. You can either directly switch to these characters or remain on the current one and then use the quick jump mechanic via R2 and L2 from the quick menu to have them cast those abilities instead. This might make things a bit less confusing for you if you just want to keep focus and be very close to the target, especially when playing up close and personal with Cloud. The reason why I recommend doing this and why I constantly do this is because this lets me then build my synergy points up. So like I said, every time you cast abilities, you're going to fill those synergy points, and this is something that you can also see on your character party UI, and that's going to let you use these really amazing ultimates. Now you don't need to rely on synergy abilities if you don't want to. You can pretty much go through the whole game without ever casting one. Remember, this is just an extension of the combat system we already had in the remake, so you're free to not use them if it's too confusing, but personally I think that the benefits here are just too big. They are pretty much ultimate abilities, they are very strong, it's easy to build them up, and they also provide extra bonus effects like increasing your ascension level limits, also giving you extra MP or even infinite MP, also extending enemies like stun duration and whatnot, and many others that you will see depending on the ability that you use. So combos are totally worth it, and again you can just pay attention to the number of synergy points that you build on each specific party member, but just remember that the more you use the same combo between the same two characters, the higher the cost is going to be. Now, another thing that might be a bit confusing to many is the weapon upgrades, especially since for some reason we have a menu entry for that, which might show you that you can spend some SP to maybe upgrade these weapons. Well, that's not actually the case. You don't have to do anything about them. This is something that just happens automatically as you just go through the game, and it's something that the folios will instead show to you. But where this counts is essentially these passive skills right here at the bottom. So these are the abilities that will progressively unlock for all of your weapons as you level these up, which happens anyway as you level your characters and your party and your folios anyway. So you don't have to do anything to like further upgrade these. You can just go ahead and pick whichever weapon skill you want whenever you see these available. So anything that can boost up your damage, magic attack power, even healing and heal on kill, or ATB charge rate up, just apply the one that fits your perfect and current scenario the best. Now technically there's another counter as well, which is the counter fire, a synergy ability. It's actually really strong because it also works against enemy ranged attacks, which, well, in the case of Cloud's counter, that only works on the melee hits. So this can be very good to reflect back some of the damage and even quickly apply pressure. It can be very good actually, but keep in mind that this has about 1 second duration. So if you just stand there and wait for too long, this is going to fade, and then you're just going to be a sitting duck getting hit in the face. You don't really want that to happen, so try to time this properly on ranged attacks. I found it to be best used against those. Anyway, that is pretty much it with the video. If you want to like check a build that helps a ton with all of these issues, you can totally pay attention.
Today I'm super excited to share with you guys our top potency at the cost of the dark side materia. This materia gives you a buff that enhances your ability's potency at the cost of consuming a percentage of your health on use. This becomes really amazing at higher levels as the potency increases to 20% at the cost of 5% health. This applies to your weapon abilities, making it great for Cloud as he has a wide range of abilities. The HP loss seems like a big risk reward, but really 5% isn't that hard to deal with, especially with the abundance of cure or regen, and it's absolutely amazing and fun to use. You will unlock this one later on from Chadley's materia development in the Nibble region. And then next up is Item Economizer, and this will be a godsend throughout your first playthrough before you go into hard mode, because it allows you to use items without consuming ATB, meaning you can clutch heal, revive, and more, making items significantly more effective. This effect will reapply after using a certain number of actions that is reduced as you level it up, and you can pair this with the Purple Materia Item Master, which increases the effects of items by up to 50%, making it a very deadly combo during your first playthrough. You can get the Item Economizer again from Chadley's Materia development, but this time in the Junon region, and you can get 2 of them, so it's available fairly early. And next up is a really cool one. It's the Synergy Materia, and this has some interesting and powerful effects, allowing an ally to follow up on the leader or playable character's attack action with whatever you link this materia to. This means if you slot this into a party member such as Aerith, she will follow up with a spell that you've linked to it after you use a weapon ability on Cloud or the other party member. The thing is, this cast is completely free, it doesn't cost MP or ATB, meaning it's a pure bonus. It sadly doesn't work with all green materia, but only seems to work with some of the offensive magic spells. But it does work with 2 specific powerful materia, making it kind of insane. You can use this with the Poison and Petrify materia to get a passive free Bio and Quake cast, which will poison and petrify your enemies for free. Or my personal favorite combo is to use it with the Comet materia, so every time you use a weapon ability, Aerith or whoever you use it on will follow up with the Comet spell that rains down fireballs across the battlefield. This is extremely useful because Comet normally costs a lot of mana, and with this, it's free and very consistent. The only downside is that Comet takes a while to cast compared to other spells, but it deals good damage, and it's just so fun to constantly have fireballs raining down from the sky. A bonus for this is that Aerith's Arcane Ward will actually double cast the Sync spell as well, making it effectively 2 spells for free if you stand in the ward. You can grab this one for yourself from Chadley's Materia development once you reach the Cosmo Canyon region. And next is the Enemy Skill Materia, and this one is a game changer, so do not disregard it in your playthrough. As you complete world intel and scan enemies, new challenges in Chadley's combat simulations will unlock called Biological Intel, and there is about 1 challenge per region that will unlock a new monster move for you to permanently learn when using this materia. The thing is, one of the earlier ones you unlock is called Plasma Discharge, and it's completely nuts. It gives you a buff for pretty much the whole fight, causing an electric AoE burst around you whenever you fill an ATB bar. This means if you start the fight by buffing up, every single ATB you fill afterwards will deal AoE lightning damage around you. With other skills such as haste to fill up your ATB quicker, synergy skills that also fill up your ATB, or abilities like Disorder that refund ATB, you can constantly juggle consuming and refilling your ATB gauge, dealing massive damage over the fight. The bonus of leveling this up is also amazing because it grants a variety of stat boosts, which is perfect for someone like Cloud who's already an all-rounder. This is overall a must-use materia, not just for those stats but also the abilities. We basically never removed this after we got it. Another amazing move that actually comes with this when you first get it is Sonic Boom, that deals a nice bit of wind damage, but it actually buffs you with Bravery and Faith, increasing your offensive stats without consuming MP. Later on you get the Soothing Breeze, which is a single ATB ability cost with no mana requirement, and will do a constant heal for you and your party members. This is just such a good materia all around, you don't want to skip it. You actually get this from the Biological Intel Know Thine Enemy in the combat simulations with Chadley, and you unlock more moves as you do future Biological Intel challenges. Next up are some bonus mentions.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Primal Liquid, and welcome to my guide. Just after Chapter 3, you will be doubling that, as there is an AP boost materia in Chapter 3 that is impossible to miss, unless you're blind, but that will basically take you then up to 7,400 AP per hour, an insane amount and more than a boost. Now that 3,700 AP I was talking about is just the individual amount, which means you want to load up your characters with as many materia slots as possible. Now I know my Yuffie only has 2 armor slots, don't worry, that's something else. But what you also want to do is, if you are post Chapter 3, make sure you equip the AP up materia and make sure it is in a linked slot with another materia, okay? That way, this materia will gain double the amount of AP. Now, with this, every materia we get, okay, per hour is going to max level. So even though we have all this materia, right, just change it. Like, you literally don't need any other materia on your other characters for this method. So if something is maxed, take it off, replace it with something that is not maxed, okay? Now, there are two ways you can do this strategy. However, for the early game method, I'm only going to cover one way. And this is going to involve a cloud and some folio abilities. So, the abilities that you want in question... Whoops, I completely forgot I didn't actually visit the folio in a while. The abilities in question that you want are going to be these early purple abilities, such as Static Shock, Wildfire, Wild Current, Snow Flurry, and Wildfire. These are essentially elemental abilities that will automatically tether to other enemy units. Also, you can get a first strike materia pretty early in the game as well. Having that maxed out on Cloud will just make this go all the much faster. Now, what you want to do is go to Chadley. It doesn't matter what chapter you're in. As I say, this is basically the best method early on. So you want to use the Combat Simulator. You are going to be combating some loading times in this, but it's still way faster than actually running around the overall field. So, what you want to do first and foremost is you want to find the actual region intel for the grasslands. So right here, as you can see, it is level 17. Now, you can do the higher tier version if you want some extra EXP in the process. However, I don't recommend this until you have, you know, like Magnify Materia, Gore Spells, and good high level stats. So for the early version, we're going to be using Grasslands Region Intel level 1. This is a 5-round fight, and during this, okay, you are going to get 28 AP. Now, that is without the AP boost materia, and it takes about 20 to 30 seconds to do. So all we're going to do right now, obviously I have a first strike. So normally you would just use Snow Flurry on these original insectoids. So as you can see, it does kill the first one really, really fast, and then we just attack the final one. And we're just going to do that constantly going through this fight. And as I was saying, it's 28 AP per fight. Then with AP boost materia, that 28 becomes 56, and because each fight only takes about 20 to 30 seconds, you are literally going to be swarming in AP, more than you can really use. You can max out all of your materia incredibly quickly with this method, which is obviously
From what I've observed, so if you spot it, who knows what sort of things you might find.
It's on now.
There you have it.
Gotcha.
Get your ass out of here.
Nothing to it. Get ready.
Ain't no battle.
That's the way to do it.
That'll do.
One step at a time.
Need my help, do you? You got this.
It's on you.
Let's do this.
Get your ass out of here.
Let's finish this.
Bingo.
No thing. Hey, did you see me in action?
700 AP I was talking about is just the individual amount, which over materia, okay? That way means you want to load up your characters with as possible. Now, equip the AP up materia, and abilities in question that you want are going to be pretty early in the game as well. It is level 17. Now, you can do the higher tier version if you want some extra
That was something else.
That's that.
How'd you like that?
It was never in doubt.
it up.
And don't come back.
Let's do this.
And don't come back.
You're up. Do it. It's on you.
I got this. Bring it! The limit and beyond! You're up!
I got this. Try this. Your time. Take him down.
Let's finish! Give him hell, okay?
I've got this.
There!
Finish it.
Let's do this.
No time to celebrate.
That's the way to do it.
That it?
Nothing on me.
Too late. Come on.
And don't come back.
Was never in doubt. Now.
I think I'm all warmed up.
Not bad. That'll do. That's it.
Bring it! No surprises there.
It's over.
And there you have it.
Rebirth is a significantly bigger game than Remake. Not only biggest new addition to Rebirth, and we'll start there. And you know, there's plenty of these world being the divine intel. Want to do it all if you don't want to do it all. So what I thought we'd focus on here is just the one specifically that you should actually do. The first being the divine intel. This will lower the difficulty of the summon materia challenges that Chadley gives you in the combat simulator. Obviously you want these summons because they are so critical for boss fights and other encounters as well, just to bring up these essentially ultimates, right? They just are massive helps in these encounters to deal damage, or in some cases do some healing or revive allies. They're just really beneficial to have. So doing these divine intels, and there's only 3 of them that you can do, simple puzzle, and then you can go to the combat simulator and actually complete the challenge. Do these unless you want to complete excavation site that you can actually go to with your chocobo, and this will give you like crafting recipes for your transmuter. This leads us into the next point, which is to essentially not ignore the transmuter and crafting, right? I was doing this for a while, and you sort of pick up materials and stuff just like everywhere, and if you don't do anything with them, they're not going to be beneficial with you, and they are actually significantly beneficial. Not only can you craft potions and other items that you can use in combat rather than buying them to save that gil for other things like Queen's Blood cards, highly recommend Queen's Blood by the way, but the transmuter will also give you these gear upgrades that you can get from the excavation sites, right? As you can like craft like enhanced versions of some of like the basic gear, which just increase their overall stats, which you can't go wrong with increasing the defensive stats on any of gear that you can craft throughout this. Also, anytime that you craft a new piece of gear for the first time on the transmuter, you'll actually get craftsmanship experience. When you level up your craftsmanship, you'll unlock new like items or any sort of crafting things here at the various levels. So definitely want to craft anything for the first time, even just craft it once to get that experience, to level yourself up and get some of the higher level potions or even some of the high level enhanced gear that you can get from that system. Also, your chocobo will often find scents, which can give you a bunch of materials as well just when you're exploring, so go and grab those when you do. And when you pick up materials, just keep an eye on the little pop-ups. Like sometimes they'll say like unable to obtain, and that's because you've actually maxed out how many of that material you can carry, so you can only carry 99. And when this happens, just go into the transmuter, craft a bunch of stuff with that material, and then you'll be able to pick them up when you do find more, or you can sell them for extra gil. Chocobo stops are everywhere, and you get to pat the cute baby chocobos, but you can also rest on the benches. But don't rest on the benches. Like, they consume a cushion, which you can craft or you can buy them, but these are also fast travel points, right? And due to the magic of the PS5, you can like essentially load to another area for like, it would take you like 1 second, and you can go like travel back to say a ranch or something where there's a proper bench, and you can just rest for free and then fast travel back, and you've barely wasted any time. So you can save yourself the cost of having to either craft those cushions, which you can use those same materials to craft potions, or buy cushions as well. At first, when you're looking at like the skills, I was grabbing all the synergy.
That's the way to do it.
Let's go. That's that.
Energy skills, as just like the marketing essentially told me that they rule, and they absolutely do, don't get me wrong, but the real tip is that they're only good if you use them. Like, in order to use them, you need to use the ATB commands that are marked with this little symbol, and that will actually give you like the synergy bar filling up in your UI. You need to have enough of this synergy bar with both of the characters. Typically it's like 2 to 3, and then you can trigger these synergy skills. Now, because you can't trigger all of them all of the time, and they require a bit of setup, you're better off spending those skill points on some of the more passive benefits or say the weapon skills. Like the secondary smaller nodes often give you say like weapon abilities with elemental damage. Like wind current's a great one that I use all the time because it's a great skill that most birds are weak to wind, and it pulls them to ground level for Cloud, so he can actually hit them with his big sword, which I've really enjoyed using that. But there's also the passive bonuses as well that you can get just to give you more health or other benefits, which are really important. Also, if you like what we do here, consider hitting that like button or subscribing, or the membership program. For just $1 you can get early access to videos like this and all of my other guides, build videos, and those cheeky long form essays we do. Plus there are other benefits like members only channels in the Discord. Your non-active party members will still help outside of combat. You'll occasionally see Barrett or one of these other characters like engaging in combat. No, they're not the same as if they're actively in combat, right? They won't use any of the abilities, they'll just do a little bit of chip damage, but you will actually be forced to use these characters throughout certain like main story events and moments, that sort of thing, as well as use specific party combos. So really the suggestion here is don't ignore the backup and your non-active party members that you don't actually use, right? You don't want to get stuck in the middle of a really tough mission like I did with Barrett, who has like no weapon skills or material or anything equipped because you weren't using him, right? So like I'm not going to show that here because it's a spoiler, but essentially you want to make sure that even the characters that you don't use, that you do spend that time to make sure that they've got appropriate materia and equipment equipped, as well as upgrading their folio skills and spending that SP so that they are ready for those missions. And speaking of missions and chapters, these sections of the game are pretty limited, right? Like you'll come across multiple moments where you'll talk to someone and you get a little pop-up that'll say like you'll be unable to access X area for a period of time if you choose to continue the main story. And this is like locking you into these story moments. Now essentially I thought these were pretty linear, like you just like press W and like go through the main story mission part, but there's almost always like a hidden chest in all of these areas, especially for weapons for party members that you're like forced to use in those moments. So make sure you are exploring on missions and trying to go like off the beaten path, because there's often weapons and other upgrades there as well. And even if that weapon is like worse for your character, actually equip it. Now that does seem counterintuitive, like why equip a weapon that's worse than what I've already got? But you want to gain proficiency in that weapon specific skill, so then you can use that weapon skill even when you've got another weapon equipped. It's also worth noting as well that when you pick up new weapons, they won't actually have any of those like weapon skill buffs applied to them. Now if the weapon that you've already got equipped say has like an attack power plus 20 buff on it, its attack power is going to be significantly higher, so it'll have inflated stats. So just pay attention to those weapon skills, and some of the weapons that maybe they have like a lower say like attack or magic attack rating, they may actually have really quality weapon skills that you can apply that'll be really beneficial for certain builds. So just pay attention to that stuff as well. The simulator absolutely rules. Now it gives you XP, materia, and summons, which we touched on earlier about why summons are important. The extra XP is also nice, but the materia is what's really great here. Now early game you won't have a whole lot of materia available to you, so you can get copies of basically all the spell materials and other materia just from doing these combat simulation challenges, which for the most part are pretty easy and like low stakes, right? Like it doesn't matter if you fail them, so they're really well worth doing. And the combat sim will expand with new challenges as you complete combat intel in the open world or assess new enemies and sort of move through the chapters. Chadley will update the combat sim, so it's well worth returning to. If you're wondering what ones to sort of focus on or not really sure, one of my absolute favorites is the enemy skill materia. I initially ignored this and just didn't really understand what the point of it was, and that's a huge mistake. Not only is the materia great because it gives you passive bonuses like HP and MP and all that stuff, but also the enemy skills are actually really strong. Like Sonic Boom, for example, is great. It's a wind attack damage, which is great for birds. We've already touched on why that's important, but also it gives you bravery and faith, which increases your attack power and your magic attack power in that same attack, right? So you're getting those benefits from being able to do that, which is really beneficial for someone like Cloud that, you know, you're going to be playing as most of the time and just attacking for the most part, right? So in those tough encounters, having extra attack power and magic attack power, you can't really go wrong with that. And speaking of Chadley's materia as well, each region has an intel currency, which is based on the world intel that you've completed in that region. You'll see that little pop-up when you complete world intel, but also each region has unique materia in Chadley's shop. So once you've maxed out a region, there's no point in holding onto that intel currency, as you can only buy a set amount of the materia that he has available to to you. So you can essentially just buy them all for all of that currency and then move on to the next region. If you missed that, or you've moved on to another region and forgot to buy stuff, you can like tab through them when you're at the Chadley shop with like R2 and L2. So you can actually switch there without having to go back to that region, but it's just worth mentioning that the benefits there. Also, like in the grasslands, for example, you can grab some banger materials like the auto cast, which is just great to have your party members auto cast skills and stuff that you don't want to use yourself, because it just takes off that headache of you having to remember to switch to them or actually cast them yourself. And just a small thing here at the end, low-key, there are just so many mini games in this game and it ruins the pacing in my experience. But if Queen's Blood is great, right? I love Queen's Blood, but there's just too many of these mini games. Now, for the most part, you're going to have to do a lot of them throughout the main story. Now, you just need to actually have like done them to move on in the main story. You don't actually need to like max them out. I would kind of recommend to do this because I got into the habit of trying to max out and complete all of the mini games as they became available, and it just takes forever to do this, especially when you get to those situations where there are multiple mini games that you have to complete to progress the main story, and that happens multiple times. So I would recommend to just do what you need to do to progress the main story. Eventually, you'll get access back to the open world, and you can then return to those areas and complete those mini games if you want to, but it just gives you that option rather than having to force you to try and max them out. Like I was trying to do myself, and it just ruined the pacing and sort of made me resent some of that stuff a little bit. So just take it at your own pace and like skip through it, you know, if you want to just focus on the main story like I eventually did. But thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.
In the region of Lower Junon, there's gonna be
Whatever. That's it. That's that. That'll do.
Hey, did you see me in action?
This data is incredible. Thank you for your contribution.
You can already get really overpowered early in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth thanks to special materia, for example, that creates this big shock blast around you. You can easily miss it. I want to go over other amazing upgrades without any story spoilers, of course, so let's go. First, I want to look at a really important setting that you should immediately turn on, because there's namely a mini-map that is hidden in the system and then gameplay settings. Here you can namely change the compass for a way more convenient mini-map to more easily locate everything, and also use L1 when walking around, because then the icons will appear in the world, and this will make navigating the world overall much easier. And then let's head over to this tiny island over here that you can reach from the beach with your chocobo, because here you can find a ton of resources, but also the precision, defense, focus materia. And this helps you perform the perfect block just when an enemy is about to strike, and also lets those enemies drop on the floor. This materia is key with Red, because when he blocks an attack, you will fill the vengeance mode meter, and when you then
I wish you...
Then activate that, you can way more easily stagger targets and also get access to the Siphon Fang, a powerful attack that also gives you health back. Like Red is really the most powerful early game character. You can also equip weapon skills so that you will eventually unlock early on to get even more health back from the Vengeance mode. And use the Sidewinder ability a ton, especially on staggered enemies, to watch them drop in no time. Now let's look at more amazing materia that is nice to get, and for this we want to talk to Chadley, who we will meet in Rebirth for the first time at Bill's Ranch. You get here super early by following the main story, and do that first because this will also unlock the Chocobo. Like, not smart to do open world activities before having your mount. And then when talking to Chadley, you can see the materia he has for sale and also buy the autocast materia immediately. And if you give this to Aerith and link it with the healing materia, she will then, when party members are low health, heal them when she is able. So when she has the ATB charge and the MP. Really nice, so you don't have to worry about it yourself anymore. And you get the healing materia, by the way, from the Grasslands region intel that you can probably already do at this point. And it's overall smart to do all the VR challenges that are available. They don't take much time, it teach you some of the basics and all reward you with some nice materia that you then want to equip ASAP to level them all up. Like, of course, always make sure that all the materia slots for each character are filled, especially after equipping new items that likely include more slots. Because then the AP at the end of a battle goes towards as many materia as possible, even materia from
Ready? After you.
Alright, watch and learn.
No!
Don't stop now.
Don't stop! You strike hard and fast!
Hey!
On it.
All right. Good to go.
On it.
Go! That's it. It's on you.
Let's do this. No worries. Don't overdo it.
Bring it home.
Let's go.
Just warming up!
Don't think you'll walk this fight's not over yet. We gotta switch it up.
Taking over.
About damn time. Want some more? Bang, bang. Give him a show, will you? Suck on this!
And be surprised! Data collection complete. Most expertly done, everyone. You made that look like child's play.
Characters that are not in your active party will still get the AP. You also want to get the Fire and Ice materia because it's basically 2 spells but for 1 materia slot, so you have room for a different materia, and also get the auto unique ability materia. Especially for Barret, because this means that he will automatically do the overcharge when it's ready, when you're not controlling him, so his damage output will just increase a ton. But you can buy 2, and the other one is amazing for Tifa, as she in combination with the materia will activate Unbridled Strength when she has the ATB charge. This lets her deal more basic attack damage, but if you then often switch to her, you can also unleash the Rise and Fall, and especially the Omni Strike ability that will deal a ton of damage. So this makes Tifa also way stronger without having to actively control her that much. And you can, by the way, get all these materia by simply doing the open world activities in the grasslands, and don't also want to get the Fire and Ice materia because it's basically 2 spells but for 1 materia slot, so you have room for a different materia, and also get the auto unique ability materia. Especially for Barret, because this means that he will automatically do the overcharge when it's ready, when you're not controlling him, so his damage output will just increase a ton. But you can buy 2, and the other one is amazing for Tifa, as she in combination with the materia will activate Unbridled Strength when she has the ATB charge. And this lets her deal more basic attack damage, but if you then often switch to her, you can also unleash the Rise and Fall, and especially the Omni Strike ability that will deal a ton of damage. So this makes Tifa also way stronger without having to actively control her that much. And you can, by the way, get all these materia by simply doing the open world activities in the grasslands, and don't worry, every region has their own points, they're only used for the materia, so just buy everything when you can. Another amazing materia you can just find in the world is over here on the map at the Grasslands port. So you will need to explore a bit further, but this gives you the Item Master materia, and that increases the effectiveness of items. So I gave this to Cloud, and then when I wanted to use a potion, he would do it to increase the effectiveness of the healing effect. And when you reach Juno, the second open world, which is also early on, you want to get the Item Economizer materia from Chadley, because this lets you use an item without the need of an ATB charge, so you can make Cloud an even port. So you will need to explore a bit further, but this gives you the Item Master materia, and that increases the effectiveness of items. So I gave this to Cloud, and then when I wanted to use a potion, he would do it to increase the effectiveness of the healing effect. And when you reach Juno, the second open world, which is also early on, you want to get the
Apparently, this port used to. We used to go fishing here, you know.
Floats in from Midgar or Juno.
Item Economizer materia from Chadley, because this lets you use an item without the need of an ATB charge, so you can make Cloud after equipping a new item, the Autocast materia. Really nice, so you don't have to worry about it yourself anymore, and you get the healing materia, by the way, from the Grasslands region intel that you can probably already do at this point, and it's overall smart to do all the VR challenges that are available. They don't take much time, it teaches you some of the basics, and all reward you with some nice materia that you then want to equip ASAP to level them all up. Like, of course, always make sure that all the materia slots for each character are filled, especially after equipping a new item that likely include more slots, because then the AP at the end of a battle goes towards as many materia as possible. Even materia from characters that are not in your active party will still get the AP. You also want to get the Fire and Ice materia because it's basically 2 spells but for 1 materia slot, so you have room for a different materia, and also get the auto unique ability materia. Especially for Barret, because this means that he will automatically do the overcharge when it's ready, when you're not controlling him, so his damage output will just increase a ton. But you can buy 2, and the other one is amazing for Tifa, as she in combination with the materia will activate Unbridled Strength when she has the ATB charge. This lets her deal more basic attack damage, but if you then often switch to her, you can also unleash the Rise and Fall, and especially the Omni Strike ability that will deal a ton of damage. So this makes Tifa also way stronger without having to actively control her that much. And you can, by the way, get all these materia by simply doing the open world activities in the grasslands, and don't worry, every region has their own points, they're only used for the materia, so just buy everything when you can. Another amazing materia you can just find in the world is over here on the map at the grasslands port. So you will need to explore a bit further, but this gives you the item master materia, and that increases the effectiveness of items. So I gave this to Cloud, and then when I wanted to use a potion, he would do it to increase the effectiveness of the healing effect. And when you reach Juno, the second open world, which is also early on, you want to get the item economizer materia from Chadley, because this lets you use an item without the need of an ATB charge, so you can make Cloud an even better item user. But really, one of the best early unlocks you can get is the Titan summon. If you played the first part of the 7 remake and uploaded that save to PS5, and also if you played like the Integrate DLC, you can, via the system and DLC bonuses option, get access to some extra content, including summons. But Titan will be the first 4-star summon you can get, and his abilities in particular are insanely strong against any future boss you will encounter. So before you challenge him at Chadley, you want to go and look for 3 crystals in the grasslands that you see on the map over here. Like, this will make the fight easier, and also when you then get him, you will get a brand new ability. So you can find these locations by looking for these crystals. Hitting them will reveal like a path towards the cave, and then you will find the summon crystal there. Now, we, by the way, have a guide with all the summons in the game, so check that out via the link in the video description if it's already up, and don't forget to subscribe, by the way, for way more 7 Rebirth videos, and a like, of course, on the video would be awesome as well. Now, I told you about this electric blast that you trigger each time you fill an ATB charge, and it's a really nice ability to activate at the start of a fight. I do it with red, and then quickly fill the ATB charges, have this shock effect, deal damage to surrounding enemies, sometimes on a block. It's really great. So this ability is linked to the enemy skill materia that you should have at this point if you completed the VR challenges from Chadley I told you about. You get it from the known dyne enemy, and below that you find the Blinded by Light that unlocks this ability. But there are some extra requirements to be able to do this VR challenge, like assess 16 unique enemies in the grasslands. So make sure you assess enemies often, and via the enemy intel menu you can see if you missed any. You can also assess them in the VR challenges, that will also count. And here you can of course view the enemies you'll be fighting if you completed the challenge once. And we also need to complete the classified foe in the grasslands, and this is a boss that you find after completing a lot of the life springs that you see right here. So I was just focused on doing everything on the map, so then you will easily come across these locations, and I now showed you enough that you can then complete to in the end get a call from Chadley with the location for the boss. Birds can sometimes lead you to these life springs, by the way, but overall they're easy to get, and if you then go to the boss location over here, you can defeat it. It's pretty manageable, but to get the powerful plasma discharge skill, you have to defeat the VR challenge Blinded by Light that is now available, and then by equipping the enemy skill materia, you can select this powerful ability. And I now put it as a shortcut, and that's overall a really smart thing to do if you haven't already. Set everything as a shortcut so that you can very easily activate it without slowing the game down all the time. You can also, via the settings and then gameplay settings, go to command shortcuts, and then with L2 and R2 you can immediately select the abilities from the shortcuts from your 2 party members without having to slow down the game either. And I put the Firebolt Blade for Cloud as a shortcut because it's really one of the best weapon abilities for Cloud in the game, and you get it by equipping the Sleek Saber that you find very early on at the abandoned dock. Like, you go here for the main story anyways, so it's very hard to miss, but you have to use the weapon often to then be able to use this ability when you find a different weapon. So make sure you unlock it for other weapons as well. It's really strong, especially against human enemies and other targets that are weak against fire, as you basically do a fire ability without spending the MP. And you can also find more of these free elemental abilities by spending SP, and you do this at the bookshop and the purple vending machines that you find often. The purple notes here give elemental abilities that cost no MP, and that can be nice to exploit the weaknesses, even though the power of the ability itself is not that high. Synergy skills are also nice, just to spam them with your partner and to build up ATB together, and there are passive bonuses here as well that you can unlock and at any time you can reset these nodes if you want. So you unlock SP by leveling up, but also by going to the Mughals over here, for example, complete their activity, and they can buy books here that give new SP for certain characters. And there are more Mughal vendors throughout the game that give you more of these books. You can also buy at the first Mughal vendor the HP up materia, and that's really good because it gives you 30% extra health. So next to the books, the accessories from the Mughals are also worth it, but you need the Mughal metal currency for it. And to get it, you want to destroy as many of these boxes as you can. You can, for example, find them at the chest locations, but they are a guaranteed drop by climbing the towers that you also need to complete in the open world. You will always get 2 if you destroy the boxes that you find on these towers. So do that and you get a lot of the Mughal metal currency. Of course, subscribe for way more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth tips. A like on the video would really help me out, and check out the other tips video if it's already up by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is bigger in every way than Remake and has so many mechanics to lose yourself into. There are many mistakes I made along the way and things that I wished somebody would have told me sooner, so to save you some headaches, here are about 20 or so of the biggest tips and mistakes to avoid after almost 70 hours of playtime. Now, the first thing you should do is unlock all the save bonus rewards from playing the game, as well as the previous Final Fantasy VII Remake and Integrate DLC. So if you play the previous game and the DLC, this will give you Ramuh and the Leviathan summoning materia, and especially Ramuh is great against one of the early on bosses in Under Junon. Meanwhile, the demo save will give you a Kupo charm. This is a great early on item which will increase the number of mats that you get from gathering, and trust me, you will need a lot of those. Plus it comes with some nice extra HP bonus too. Now, once in game at number 2, whenever you get to new regions starting with the grasslands, always make absolutely sure you complete the Chocobo Mount quests in the same area ASAP. Not only is this going to make travel much easier, but almost every new zone will have unique traversal mechanics to reach new places that only these feathery companions can provide. So in the grasslands, you will want to find Bill right here next to the bridge just south of Oliver's farm. From this point on, simply make your way down to the abandoned dock as usual, and from this point on, it's an easy walk up to the Chocobo Ranch. Once at the ranch, complete the quest in the area to help the ranchers out, and eventually this will let you grab your first Chocobo mount. But in other maps, it can go down differently. So for example, in Junon, you can unlock the Rock Chocobo from a World Intel objective that you can easily miss at first if you just focus on the main story. So you can find its location by activating the tower next to Gabe's ranch right here on this side of the map, or just go straight to this abandoned spot on the cliff to the west side. Once you're in the spot, you can just activate these train cards to avoid detection. You can, by the way, also throw rocks to activate them from afar, and then simply make your way in the back to capture the Rock Chocobo. This one lets you actually climb up vertical slopes, which is paramount to reach all of the important areas on the map. Now, each new zone has its own variant of Chocobos with unique powers and travel mechanics. However, eventually you will also get vehicles. Now, usually vehicles are automatically given from key story moments, so you don't really have to worry much about them. However, they are still just as fun, if not maybe even more than the Chocobos. At number 3, since we talked about World Intel, this is how you'll get the majority of the strongest materia out there, the best summons, and even unique craftables. So each map has regional data that you can collect for Chadley, which is why you will want to focus on unlocking Remnant Wave towers right away once they become available. This in turn will reveal objectives of interest all around, such as unique mob fights, resources that will progressively unlock new challenges, and so on. So you can also check these requirements out for each specific entry in the combat sim. However, I especially suggest paying attention to the divine and the biological intel. This is basically how you get to unlock some of the best new materials, as well as some of the best new summons all around the new maps. Plus, towers also act as fast travel points, which in turn is going to make things easier for you later on. And by the way, they also hold multiple crates with Mughal coins inside, so I definitely suggest breaking these once you get on top of towers, as you can then use them to buy rewards from the Mughal Emporium later on. Moving on to number 4, another big tip is to always collect resources. You might think that you have plenty, but trust me, you don't. And that's because you're going to use a ton of them in the item transmuter to craft some of the best gear, accessories, and consumables. You will generally find them all over the place, with some of the more rare options such as ore, mithril, and even rubies progressively opening up in later on maps such as Junon, Mountain Pass, Corel, and so on. Also, Wild Springs, which are part of the world intel anyway, usually hold tons of planet favors and other collectibles all around that you can easily pick off. I, by the way, suggest collecting these resources on mount back, as this lets you instantly pick up everything instead of doing it one by one like how you normally do on foot. Though do be careful about stacking too many, because you can only hold 99 of each resource in your inventory. Anything beyond that will fail to collect and the item will pretty much be completely gone. So there's no reason to not spend these, don't hoard them, absolutely try to constantly craft stuff so that you can also improve your craftsmanship level. But let's talk about combat, as obviously there have been some massive changes compared to the remake, though some basic principles still remain. So you will still want to constantly exploit enemy weaknesses, since that's how you deal the highest damage and pressure targets for an easier stagger. That's why assessing targets...
Queen's Blood is the new...
What is up, everybody? I hope you're having a than Final Fantasy VII So we look at our weapons and we go to upgrade weapons. And you can see on the screen here, at the bottom left, we have a weapon level. Top right, we have acquired weapon skills. Bottom right, we have, upcoming weapon skills. Now, your weapon level goes up when you get SP after battle. Simple enough. Then you get more weapon skills. Now, those weapon skills can be stat boosts, as you can see on the bottom right. Increases attack by 8, magic attack by 5. If you remember in Remake, these were nodes you just purchased on like the board, but now you just get them automatically and then you get a new weapon skill. And the thing is, you hit triangle and you can see what weapon skills you currently have, and then you just equip one. And you can get more of these slots as you level, but early on you obviously only start with one, and you'll be able to have more than one weapon skill equipped. The stat boosts, as far as I'm aware, they are across all weapons. So if your Buster Sword here goes up a level, it'll go attack 7, magic attack 7. You'll get that, plus the Sleek Saber will get attack 8, magic attack 5. So you'll get all these stats combined, the passive stats. Those are universal. And as far as I'm aware, the weapon skills, obviously you have to have the weapon equipped. I can't have Buster Sword here equipped and get increases weapon ability damage by 5% and have that just always be there. As far as I can tell, that doesn't seem to be how it works. It's not permanent. I have to be using the Buster Sword, even though it's just like a stat increase that's, equipped on the weapon. So do keep that in mind. And another thing to understand is, your weapons will just passively level. You don't have to really apply or do anything other than equip the weapon skills. So there's no need for you to manage them like you did in the first game. And me and other people too were confused with how this works. You kind of well, where do I spend my points? What do I do? I just get these skills randomly as I level. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You just get the skills as you level, and there's not much more to it than that. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to understand. So hopefully this clears it up on how to do it. The only thing you manage is equipping the skills that the weapons give you. But if you the passive stats, those are universal. You can get more of these slots as you level. See? On the bottom right, increases attack by 8, magic attack by 5. If you remember in Remake, these were nodes you just purchased on the board, but now you just get them automatically and then you get a new weapon skill. And the thing is, you hit triangle and you can see what weapon skills you currently have, and then you just equip one. And you can get more of these slots as you level, but early on you obviously only start with one, and you'll be able to have more than one weapon skill equipped. The stat boosts, as far as I'm aware, they are across all weapons. So if your Buster Sword here goes up a level, it'll go attack 7.